Khe Sahn.
Khe Sahn was a base in literally the middle of nowhere. It was on a giant hill, as you can see in this picture, and it was surrounded by other hills which had more bases on them. This acted as an infiltration barrier. It was very useful in keeping out spies for the Vietnamese. And also, they were afraid that when they were starting to evacuate it, it would become another Dien Bien Phu, which was a very bad massacre.
The Tet Offensive.
The Tet Offensive, as most of you all know, was a whole bunch of attacks nearing the end of the war, which showed that the U.S. was not doing as well as they made out to be to the people at home. First off, it was the beginning of the end. It's what started to drive the U.S. out of Vietnam because we just lost so many bases during this time. Khe Sahn, debatably, was the first attack of the Tet Offensive. And like I said before, it showed Americans that we weren't doing well. The Tet Offensive basically attacked a whole bunch of bases along the border of North and South Vietnam.
Dien Bien Phu.
Dien Bien Phu was a French outpost, basically in the middle of nowhere in Vietnam, when the French had control of Vietnam. Soon before it was taken over, it was cut off from all of its resources, just like Khe Sahn was. That's why they were afraid Khe Sahn would be another Dien Bien Phu. Route 9 was the main supply route of Khe Sahn, as you can see here. Once the Vietnam took control of it, it was cut off, so the only way to get resources into Khe Sahn was through the airfield.
Escape Vietnam.
The U.S. public started to question the worth of Vietnam, as you can see here. They were discovering that the cost was it wasn't worth it. Like, what would we do if we controlled Vietnam? Nothing. And then, on top of that, the Tet Offensive happened, which is when all of our outposts along the border got attacked simultaneously. It was a planned strategic advantage on the Vietnam part. So we needed to save the soldiers' lives. That's what the Pentagon thought, that's what the President thought. So in order to do that, President Nixon made the decision to leave Vietnam so we could save what dignity we had left. And this Tet Offensive was still happening. They ended up killing several people trying to leave.
Boom goes the A-bomb.
Just a fun fact. Bombs came within 1,000 yards of Khe Sahn's perimeter. That's very close, considering that they were 3 miles above the earth.
1,000. Did you know?
Did you know that bombs came within 1,000 yards of Khe Sahn at one point because bombers were bombing the Ho Chi Minh Trail, American bombers. And the Ho Chi Minh Trail, as you probably already know, is very close to Khe Sahn. Also, the Tet Offensive, the beginning of the Tet Offensive was Khe Sahn. It happened 9 days after the attack at Khe Sahn, so it's a lot of controversy of whether it was the beginning or not, but I think it was. Khe Sahn was used as a base for multiple operations, none more so than study and observation groups, or SOG. They were used to survey enemy positions in North Vietnam. And special reconnaissance planes, it's a refueling area. They had an airstrip for bombers and definitely the recon planes for the Ho Chi Minh Trail. It was also used as a western anchor for border defense along the southern Vietnam border. It was also a jump-off point for Ho Chi Minh ground forces, so we could take over the Ho Chi Minh Trail eventually, but it did fail.